months back, I received a call from someone known as Mr.Niel. Mr.Niel had secured admission in the part-time PhD program of a top-ranking IIM. However, he was not being issued a NOC or a no objection certificate from his organization, because of which he was not in a position to complete the admission process. He had called me up to know if there is any other alternative to an NOC. Unfortunately, there is no alternative to an NOC. It is compulsory that anybody who plans to pursue a part-time PhD program needs to submit a no objection certificate from their organization to the university where they are going to take an admission. Since Mr. Niel could not provide this certificate, he had to forgo his seat, his admission in this IIM. Now, this was not the first or an isolated incident that I came across related to an NOC grievance. There are so many students who've told me, who write on my YouTube channel, that they are not being issued an NOC from their organization. Definitely, Mr. Niel's case was more heartbreaking since he had already secured admission. Most of the other students first find out whether they will be issued an NOC or not, and then only they start with the admission process. However, before or after, not being able to study just because your employer is not ready to support you, to give you an NOC, is definitely very saddening. I mean, isn't education our right? Of the various grievances that I have heard or I've read in the comment section of my YouTube channel, there was one which had caught my attention. Now, this comment read as, "Of late, I've realized that admission criteria into PhD is not student friendly. Having employer consent is an absolute hurdle." Now, obviously, after reading the comment, I was very clear that this person wants to really do a PhD and is not getting a consent or an NOC from the employer. But the first line, that UGC or the PhD regulation is not student friendly, is what stuck to my mind. I also started thinking that why is an NOC required to pursue a part-time PhD? As it is only while pursuing this program that something as NOC is required, and not while doing anything else. What exactly is the content of NOC, and why is UGC insisting that a student submits an NOC? Is UGC seriously not student friendly? This is something which I thought about. So after doing my bit of research, I got the answers. And now that your PhD mentor has the answers, I thought, why not share it with all of you? Since many of you must be thinking, why does UGC ask us to submit a NOC when pursuing a PhD program? You will in this video learn exactly what is an NOC, and also understand why an NOC is required. And in the end, you will automatically be able to discover whether the PhD regulation is student friendly or not. So in case you are also interested in learning more about NOC and part-time PhD, then stay tuned with me, your one and only PhD mentor, advisor and trainer, Dr. Ritika Gapa. So let's start by understanding what is an NOC or a no objection certificate. So anyone who's working in India, a working professional in India, is allowed to pursue a part-time PhD, Whether you are a teacher, doctor, lawyer, IS officer, an entrepreneur, a researcher, a government employee, an MNC employee, any one of you, if you are a working professional, you are allowed to pursue a part-time PhD. However, UGC has laid a condition that once you get admission in a university, to complete the admission process, you will be required to submit an NOC, that is a no objection certificate from your organization where you are working. This organization will have to give in writing to the university where you are seeking admission that they have no objection that you are going to pursue a PhD program from this particular university, and your organization would be happy to support you in your research journey. So unless and until you submit this certificate, this NOC, your PhD admission process will not be completed. Okay, the same has been clearly mentioned by UGC in the PhD regulations of 2022 as well, sharing a screenshot of that portion of the PhD regulation on the screen. So now that you've understood what is an NOC, let us move on to understanding why UGC insists that you have to submit an NOC. Now, part-time PhD and full-time PhD do not have a lot of difference. In fact, part-time PhD is almost like a full-time PhD with some relaxations given because you are working. If you do not believe me what I'm saying, or you do not understand what I'm saying, then I would request you to watch the video that we have released just last week, where we have explained in detail from the eligibility to the award of PhD degree process and made a comparison between the full-time PhD process and the part-time PhD process. Watch this video to understand how similar are the two types of PhD formats. So, as I'm saying that part-time and full-time PhD are very similar to each other, and you will be required to give in a lot of time and effort to pursue this PhD. For a working professional, it is actually quite unethical to take up any other additional course or work which is full-time in nature. Since part-time PhD is very similar to a full-time course, it becomes unethical if you do not tell your organization and take an NOC before starting this course. Now, a part-time PhD or PhD itself requires a lot of time and effort, especially if you're planning to do it genuinely, and that also from a reputed university or institute. Now, you will require some time offs when you're planning to do your coursework, when you're going for your 6-monthly presentations, when you are going for your final defense, attending conferences, and so on. Not only time offs, you will also be a little busy when you're doing your research work, especially when you're collecting data, writing your thesis, when the submission time comes. And during this entire journey, it will be very, very helpful for you if your organization, especially your team and your immediate supervisor, is there to support you. If not support you, then at least understand where you're engaged and why you're engaged. And therefore, it will be good that you take an NOC, because only when they know about your PhD journey in advance would they be supportive and understanding. Otherwise, how do you expect them, when you've not even taken their consent, how do you expect them to be supportive towards you? Now, if you are someone who says that, oh, I'm working from home and I really don't require their support, I have enough time offs and I can manage PhD on my own. So here is something for you. Now, during your PhD journey, you will definitely be required to publish papers. You will not only be required, you would want to publish your work. There also might be a possibility that you want to apply for a patent. Now, when you're applying for a patent or you're publishing papers, these papers and patents will be in your name as a research scholar of that university, accompanied by the name of your guide. When your company finds out about these publications and patents, in case you've already taken an NOC, then your company cannot raise any objection towards them. But in case you have not taken an NOC and later on they discover about your PhD journey, they can definitely take an action against those patents and papers and you engaging in a PhD program. So as your PhD mentor, as your advisor, I would suggest always keep your company informed about your PhD journey. Take their permission, take their NOC in advance. Also, when it comes to the PhD regulations of 2022, at least from the point of view of these regulations, I can say that UGC is not against the students. They are in fact insisting that you take an NOC because it will be beneficial and it will safeguard the students in future. If you are an employer who is watching my video, I request you that if any employee comes to you for an NOC to pursue a PhD, please, please, please do give them an NOC. For more such in-depth insights about PhD, for more such genuine knowledge about PhD, keep watching my YouTube channel All About PhD by Dr. Ritika Gaba. Do share these videos with someone who might require it. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. For a one-to-one mentoring session, you know where you can get in touch with me. Thank you so much for watching my videos.